About a year ago, I watched a video by a popular streamer where they played a virtual board game called Yacht Dice. I thought the rules were really fun and simple, and I loved the risk/statistic element of play, so I decided to look into it. Turns out it's pretty much just a public domain version of Yahtzee,
It's a rainy day.
That's a good time to play Yahtzee.
which I had heard of before but never played. I ended up finding a way to play Yacht Dice online through this website and enjoyed running a game or two whenever I had some time. The game had one major issue though. It was too samey. Once I had figured out what I deemed to be my optimal strategy, it was really just down to chance. Sometimes I rolled really well and it felt good, and sometimes I rolled poorly and it wasn't so great. But I had effectively solved the game. I wanted it to be more strategic. I wanted there to be more layers and more rules. I wanted something more.
No, I didn't make Gordon Ramsay cry. He made himself cry. That was his choice to cry.
4 years ago, in 2019, I finished my degree in software engineering and got my first big boy computer job.
Technology!
This fundamentally ended my previous career as a professional cook, which I had been doing since 2012. I think one of the elements of this lifestyle that actually made it satisfying ultimately was the fact that it was so difficult and so repetitive that you could spend time getting better at it. And you had to spend time getting better at it, or you would just sink. I suppose it was at this time I began to think about how well does this experience translate to a video game? In my opinion, cooking games suck. The way they represent the industry and what it's like to be a chef is just completely wrong. They're so lighthearted and cutesy, and you play these over-the-top cartoon characters who have no problems in their lives, and all these customers walk in with these big bright smiles and they'll just list off a whole bunch of ingredients, and they'll expect you to make some custom order out of this vague collection of things they've just told you. Like, dude, order from the fucking menu. I would often wonder to myself, why isn't there a game about cooking and about the hospitality industry that feels like it was made by a developer who actually understands the hospitality industry? A hospitality game shouldn't be afraid to kick your ass. It should recognize that chefs are these inebriated psychopaths. I want a game that is willing to crush your spirits. In 2010, I discovered a game unlike any I'd ever played before. This mathematics genius had dedicated his life to simulating an interactable fantasy world. I fell in love with the depth of the simulation and the stories that would emerge, and the utter dedication that Tan Adams had for his craft. This fucking dude just sat down one day and said, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life working on a game. And everyone just went, okay. And he never stopped. This was my first exposure to a game genre that would quickly become a mainstay for the games that I would consume for the rest of my life. I find myself endlessly fascinated by the depth of the genre, from hardcore traditional roguelikes to your more modern, creative roguelite. In fact, I'm playing Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead as I write the script to this video. For as long as I've worked in software, my dream was always that one day I would quit my job and just start making indie games. And 6 months ago, I began. I didn't exactly quit so much as I got laid off, but it was a perfect opportunity to begin regardless. I knew that I wanted to make a roguelike, and I wanted it to be about cooking, and I wanted it to be about rolling dice. So I spent the next 6 months prototyping, and I've landed on something really cool. At the core of the game loop, customers order from the menu, and your job is to fill those orders by rolling dice. I discovered early on that players need more options. Just choosing which dice go in which dockets was ultimately unsatisfying and didn't have enough strategic depth. Once a player had figured out what optimal play looked like, they could just kind of repeat that process. I wanted them to have to respond to a menu that changes constantly. If you're going to do well at this game, I want you to have to work for it. By adding an inventory management system, I managed to give players the ability to control the faces on their dice and the items on their menu. And it was only through balancing both of these aspects well would you be able to succeed at the game. If you take a bunch of fancy ingredients, your menu is going to get more complicated and you might not be able to cook it during the service. If you take too many simple ingredients, your menu is going to become boring and customers aren't going to pay very much for it. This is where the heart of the game is. Players would need to use strategy and rely less on luck to succeed. So I made a prototype of exactly that, and I need you to test it. I need your help. I need people to come in and play the game and figure out what works and what doesn't. I need help finding bugs and exploits and things that I thought might be intuitive but actually aren't. I need people to join me on the development journey. On the 19th of June, a demo of Finally Dice is going to be available on Steam Next Fest. The game has been through alpha testing with the Discord community and is finally ready to be shared with the unwashed masses. Please give the game a wish list, give it a play, leave a review, join the Discord and chat with me and the other players. Or just share this video with someone you think might be interested. If this goes well, I get to hopefully make a second game. And if that does well, I get to make a third game. This can be the start of me just making video games forever. And that's the future that I want more than anything else. So if you're able to contribute even the tiniest bit in helping me get one step closer to that goal, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.